The motel was the kind you only stay in when you're desperate. Faded sign, peeling paint, and an unsettling quietness that clung to the air. But after 10 hours on the road, I didn't care. I just needed a bed. The clerk handed me a room key, barely looking up from his newspaper. Room 12, end of the hall. I tossed my bag on the bed and locked the door behind me. The room smelled faintly of mildew, but I was too tired to mind. I kicked off my shoes, laid down, and drifted off almost immediately. A noise woke me. Soft. Faint. I blinked in the darkness, disoriented. It came again. The sound of the doorknob turning. I sat up, my heart hammering. Someone was trying to get in. "Occupied!" I called, my voice hoarse. The noise stopped. Silence settled over the room. Probably a drunk guest with the wrong door, I told myself, but the unease wouldn't leave. I got up and checked the lock. Secure. I even twisted the deadbolt for good measure. Just as I lay back down, the sound returned. The knob jiggled, harder this time. My throat went dry. I grabbed the chair from the corner and wedged it under the doorknob. The flimsy wood creaked as I pressed my weight against it. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then came a new sound. Scraping. I turned toward the window. Shadows danced on the thin curtains. Someone was outside. I saw the faint outline of a hand pressing against the glass. My stomach dropped. I backed into the corner, clutching my phone. My fingers fumbled as I dialed the front desk. "Someone's trying to get into my room," I said, keeping my voice low. "You sure?" the clerk asked, too calm for my liking. "Yes. They're at the window now." There was a pause, then. "No one else is supposed to have a key to your room. I'll be right there." The line went dead. The scraping grew louder. The window frame rattled as if someone was trying to pry it open. My breath caught in my throat as I imagined what would happen if they got in. I pressed my back against the wall, phone clutched tightly, eyes glued to the window. Then suddenly, the noise stopped. A new light swept across the parking lot outside. I heard footsteps and the faint sound of someone calling out. The night clerk. A figure darted away from the window, disappearing into the darkness. The clerk banged on my door, yelling that it was safe. When I finally unwedged the chair and opened the door, he looked shaken. "Whoever it was, they're gone now," he said. We found nothing but faint footprints outside the window and a small crowbar left behind in the dirt. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. When morning came, I packed my things and left, vowing never to stop at a place like that again. The knock jolted me awake. It was sharp, urgent, not the kind you hear often this far out in the countryside. I swung my legs off the bed, heart thudding, and checked the clock. 12:03 a.m. I grabbed my flashlight and moved toward the door, careful to keep the light off. Through the peephole, I saw a woman. She looked disheveled, her hair a mess and her jacket hanging loosely. "Please, can you help me?" she called, her voice trembling. "My car broke down." Her tone should have stirred sympathy, but it didn't. Something was off. She wasn't shivering despite the cold, and her words sounded rehearsed, too calm under the panic. "I'll call for roadside assistance," I said, keeping the door shut. "No!" she replied quickly, almost too quickly. "Please, I just need to come in for a moment. It's freezing." I tightened my grip on the flashlight. "I'll call someone. Just wait out there." I backed away from the door, still watching her. That's when I saw it. Movement in the shadows behind her. Two figures, low and deliberate, crept along the sides of the porch. My stomach turned cold. I slid my phone out of my pocket and dialed 911 with trembling fingers. Whispering into the receiver, I explained what was happening, then quietly moved to the bedroom. The woman knocked again, harder this time. "Please, I'm begging you." I didn't answer. From the bedroom window, I saw them now. Two men, one with a crowbar, the other holding something I couldn't make out. They were circling. I pulled the shotgun from under my bed, loading it as quietly as I could. My hands shook, and every small click sounded deafening in the silence. The doorknob at the back rattled, then the sound of metal scraping against the lock. My pulse pounded as I retreated into the corner of the room, phone still in hand. The operator reassured me police were on their way, but the nearest station was miles out. A crash shattered the quiet. The back door. Footsteps pounded through the kitchen, voices low but urgent. I stayed still, barely breathing, the shotgun trained on the door to my room. The front porch was silent now. She must have joined them. Suddenly the sound of tires on gravel. Then bright, flashing lights illuminated the yard. The voices inside erupted into chaos, followed by heavy footsteps retreating toward the back. "Police!" a voice boomed. I didn't move until I heard someone knock on my bedroom door, identifying themselves. When I finally opened it, 2 officers stood there, guns drawn. They found the woman and her accomplices hiding in the woods nearby, along with tools for breaking and entering. The officer told me I'd done the right thing by not opening the door. That didn't stop the thought from haunting me. What if I had? The night air was cool, the kind that made running easier. My shoes crunched softly against the dirt path, the rhythmic sound steady in the quiet. I liked jogging late. It was the only time the trail was empty, just me and the trees. I adjusted my pace, letting the calm wash over me. Then I heard it. Footsteps. I glanced over my shoulder. A man in a hoodie was behind me, not too close, but close enough to notice. He wasn't running, just walking. I turned my eyes forward, brushing it off. Public trail. People use it. Nothing unusual. But when I took the next turn, I heard him again. His footsteps mirrored mine. I picked up my pace, my heart thumping faster than my strides. Maybe it was paranoia, but I couldn't shake the feeling of being followed. The exit was still a mile away. The trail ahead was darker, the trees thicker. I knew this stretch well. It was the most isolated part. I slowed down, pretending to adjust my shoelaces. I wanted him to pass, to show me this was nothing. He didn't stop. His steps came closer, steady and deliberate. He walked past me without a word, but as he did, his head turned slightly, just enough for me to feel his gaze. I swallowed hard. The moment he was a few feet ahead, I stood up and turned, sprinting back the way I came. My legs burned, but I didn't dare slow down. The trail split in several places. I veered onto a side path, one I'd used many times before. It was narrow and uneven, but I knew where it led. I could barely hear anything over my pounding heart. My breaths came in short, sharp gasps. Every shadow looked like him. Every noise felt too close. Finally, I broke through the trees, stumbling onto the main road. The streetlights were a welcome relief, their glow chasing away some of the fear. I doubled over, hands on my knees, trying to catch my breath. Cars passed occasionally, their headlights slicing through the dark. Then I looked back. He was there, not on the road, but just beyond the tree line, a dark figure watching. The hoodie made him faceless, but I knew it was him. He stood motionless, half hidden by the branches, as if daring me to move closer. I stepped backward, my legs trembling. A car approached, and I waved it down, flagging the driver for help. They slowed, their window rolling down as I explained quickly. When I turned to point him out, he was gone. I didn't go jogging at night again.